take it whenever they want to. Same with the 10. The 10 is going to be a 10-year wait. We see a lot of clients and agents talking about the 7 because it gives that ability to take an income anywhere beyond 7 years. So if your client says, hey, I'm 10 years away, might make sense. Everybody likes to try and retire a little bit early. Sometimes things come up in the markets. I know in the 401k plans, I unfortunately worked with a lot of clients who had their retirement plans changed because their company told them, not because they chose to, but because their company told them. So this can be a great option, even if we're looking at about that 10-year time frame, because it gives them that flexibility if something happens a little bit early. Now, the scenario that I ran today is going to be for somebody who's 55. She's hoping to retire, let's say, at the age of 62 to 65. She's still got some time in there. She's got that old 401k plan, that old employer plan for about $250,000 that she's wanting to work with and try and generate a lifetime income on, but has the concerns of how to protect it and have it work for her. Now, with the Agility, like we had somebody mention earlier, it does have a 35% bonus day one. So your client is going to have their money start working for them without the market. They get that guaranteed. And then on top of that, they're going to have a multiplier of 175%. And we'll take a minute to talk a little bit about how that works, but that is a huge number there. And the best part about this product is it has no fee. There is no charge for a rider. There's no charges for participation rates. There's no hidden charges in this product. They are simply going to get exactly what they're expecting. So it's a very easy conversation to have with a client. Now, with these conversations, whenever I highlight this for agents and they show clients, I always like to make sure that we have a discussion on things like participation rates. Now, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with how participation rates work. I'm going to just do a very quick overview on that just to make sure that we're all covered there and make sure that we've got everything taken care of. So the way that I always explain a participation rate is simply a multiplier. So it's simply going to take the amount that the markets return and multiply it by that participation rate, and then that's what gets credited to the client. So again, just think of that participation rate as a multiplier. So what I'm going to do is, let's say we're looking at this BNP Paribas fund, and let's just say, for example, it has a 10% return over this year. We're simply going to look at that participation rate, and remember, it's a multiplier. So in this instance, since we don't have the ability to buy up the participation rate, it comes in at that 0.95 or that 95%. So in this instance, what would happen is the client would have 9.5% credited to their account. So they're essentially trading off the 0% floor. So they're trading off those losses and taking a little bit of that risk off the table and getting a slightly lower than 100% participation rate. But what's unique with this product is we still have this 175% multiplier included in there at no cost. So it's another 1.75% on top of that. So essentially, this client is getting a rather nice credit there. So we're just going to simply take that 9.5 and multiply it by the 1.75. And we're going to see that client, if that index returns 10%, they end up getting 16.25% credited to their income. So I know that that's quite a bit there. I want to just take a little bit of a step back. I'm going to write down that 16.625. So with that being said, taking a step back and talking a little bit about those participation rates, what questions come to mind there? Okay. Again, if there is, let me know. And this is just going to be helping out with growing their income. So they've got a great option to continue to grow their income, but they're going to also have some guarantees along the way. So we're going to take a little bit of a look and dive into those strategies and see how this actually performs. as time goes by. And keep in mind, Athene does have different index strategies. We always illustrate it with these three strategies because these are the highest returning strategies and the most consistent returning strategies. Your client can always change those if they want to. So if they feel a different area in the market's going to be great, absolutely feel free to change those around. They're not locked in for that entire contract. So let's take a little bit of a look at how this product works in particular and see how their money can grow and work. Now, the first section that I always talk about here is going to be those guarantees. So your client, as we talked about, they're going to have that floor of 0%. No matter what the markets do, your client is not going to lose based off of the markets. They have that floor of 0%. So we can see that accumulated value, in this case, is staying at $250,000. That's what I like to discuss with the client. They're guaranteed no less in this 7-year option, that $14,344 in this situation. So she's guaranteed this $14,000 per year, and it can only step up from there. It will never go down. Now, as we all know, markets haven't ever been down more than 18 months. So if we look at 2008, 2009, even all the way back to the Great Depression, we have never seen consistent months down more than 18. So this 0% return, again, it's just to show them that peace of mind of their money is protected and working for them no matter what. We can also see that on that benefit base, that they get that 35% bonus day one, and that is what's used to calculate that income. So they're able to start out with $337,500 as opposed to $250,000 and have that money start working for them. Now, with the illustration for the Agility7, one of the most powerful things that we're going to see on here is with that market growth. So what this is saying is we're looking at this based off of the most recent 10 years, and we're applying that interest that would have been credited. Now, we can see that benefit base is growing. We got the bonus. We're getting that interest multiplied by the participation rate and that bonus on there of the 1.75%. So it's really growing and working for this client. And we can see that it's outpacing that accumulated value. And what it does for us is instead of that amount that we just talked about for that lifetime income, they're now starting with $25,000. So they're able to have this money grow for them. Unlike most annuity products, this one, it locks that income in, but it's not locked in for life because it can still continue to grow with the markets and the indexes. So for example, let's just say that this client is going along, and let's say that they're ultimately, let's say something happens to them at, let's say, age 73 to 74. So they were taking $59,000 per year based off of their $250,000 starting. And what they've been able to do is generate $483,000 of earned income on this. And they still have the ability to pass funds along. So they still have a death benefit associated with this of $221,000, almost their initial premium that they had done. But like we had mentioned, something that's unique with this product outside of stepping up that amount each year based off of the markets is they also have an enhanced death benefit. So with this client, their beneficiary can either take the death benefit or the benefit base over 5 years. So this client's beneficiary can either get $221,000 on top of their $483,000 that they already took out, or $364,000, almost $365,000 there. So we can see that that's a great benefit for those clients who are worried about passing something along, but also generating as much income as possible and having that peace of mind, because it's not going to step down even if the markets go down. We have that floor of 0%. So we can see that their income is protected and it locks in each year while still having these great benefits at no cost. So taking a little bit of a step back, I want to see what thoughts and questions do people have there?
Hi, Joseph. I'm Moran. Okay.
Yeah.
Policy. You have to wait for 7 years to take out the money, right? Correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
It has a 7-year wait.
7 year wait. But I heard on Athene they have velocity that give you 30% bonus, and you can take out. You don't need to wait for 7 years, right?
That is correct. Yes. So the Velocity is another great product that works very similar, where it can step up that income, gets a great bonus on it, and you can start that income. It has more flexibility, more control, but it doesn't have that enhanced death benefit on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Excuse me, Joseph, this would be here. For allocation, which one you take the average or you take the actual to show here?
So with this is based off of the most recent 10 years. So it's going to be the 3 indices that we chose, and it's going to be their performance over the past 10 years.
Okay, the past 10 years. So the actual performance.
So this is, since Athene hasn't had this product around for 10 years, it's forecasted back for 10 years. Yeah, so this product has been around for 5.
But this the last 10-year actual performance, right?
Right.
Okay. How do we select? Sometimes I think we have a challenge to select the allocation. So what is how do we select that?
Well, so that's a great question. The way that we do it is, since we deal with these illustrations all the time and all the different companies, we actually can put together those allocations for you. And so if you have us run an illustration, it's gonna have these 3 options already picked out. And what we can do is we can actually take a look at how they've performed over the past. But what we do is we look for the highest participation rates, the highest returns, and the most consistent returns. So we use the BNP Paribas funds for almost all of the Athene options, as well as that NASDAQ strategy, and split it up across those 3 different options. But again, you can work with your clients on picking out these different choices. And again, what we do is we look at the highest returns and the most consistent returns with the highest participation rate. So we can see that we get an average with that BNP Paribas fund of 5.18, and it only came back as a 0% return 10% of the scenarios run out of the last 20 years. So that's really our approach, is we want to try and make sure the client gets the highest participation rates and the most consistent interest credited, because we all know that's a conversation that people have since they get that interest credited 1 time per year. So does that help kind of answer that question there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. And
Joseph, I have a question. Yeah.
Yes.
Could you just clarify? Maybe if I misunderstood. If, let's say, the market, you draw the example, if the market returns 10%, the client get 9.5. So is there a charge of 0.5% for the participation?
So great question. So with this product, so every product is going to be different as to how they do it.
Yes.
With the income products, the interest credited is usually going to be a little bit muted, because they're looking at it from that perspective of wanting that lifetime income, rather than saying, hey, growth is the most important thing to me. So it's not necessarily that it's going to have a charge on it, but if you wanted to think about it that way, that's a potential way to do that. As far as the participation rates go, then, for example, the 130 would kind of offset that. But it's just ultimately how Athene has set up those different indexes and those different participation rates. And then on top of that, we get that 175 multiplier to kind of make up that difference without the charge.
Okay. I see.
So does that kind of help out there?
Okay, I see. Base depend on the index.
Right. It's going to depend on the index that we choose. And if having less than a 100% participation rate is a concern for a client, we can absolutely adjust it around. But with this product in particular, and with the Athene products, this one has that multiplier on it built in. Performance Elite has the ability to be a higher amount as well. So you can actually buy up those participation rates. So it's just up to the client at that point.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay.
Joseph, this
I
is
like the
God when I-
125% return participation.
Say that again for me.
Oh, I said I like the 175% participation.
Right. Well, and that's on top of it. So like with that 130, the 175 is on top of that. So it is definitely a great way to grow that benefit base.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
and Godwin, it sounded like you had a question there.
Yes. Since this is a 7 years product, when somebody is age 40 and he or she buys it at age 47, so what happens if he doesn't want to start taking the money?
Great question. So they can actually hold off on that. So they're not required to take that income in that 7th year. So for example, if they wanted to wait, they absolutely could. Generally in that scenario where we've got somebody who's outside of, let's say 7 to 12 years outside of income, we'd look potentially at more of like an accumulation play. So something that's going to grow the funds a little bit more so than the income side, because they've got that time on their hands. This is definitely a good question there. But like I said, they can wait if they want to.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You might have mentioned, but I probably missed it. What is the minimum age and what is the minimum contribution?
Great question. So the minimum age on this one is going to be age 40, and the minimum amount is $10,000. Now, with the income products, we generally see people around 55-ish, somewhere in through there, starting to look at things like the income products, but they could absolutely use this. We usually see people leaning a little bit more towards like the Performance Elite series and the North American series for accumulation while they've still got that amount of time.
Yeah, because I think I have some people like, they left their former job and they have a 401k, but they're pretty young, less than 30.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to find like a good product for them to roll over, because at this point, the money that they left in the 401k right now is disappearing. So, but most of the products are geared towards the older age. So that is my question.
Well, and that's a great question, and definitely understand where your clients are coming from, wanting that protection and growth at the same time. So there's going to be two separate categories that we generally talk about when we talk about annuities. We're going to talk about income options like the Agility, where it generates that lifetime income guaranteed. And then there's going to be the accumulation options, where it grows those funds and has higher participation rates and much higher rates of return on those. So for somebody that's young, let's say around the age of 30, we'd use something like a growth strategy. And I actually have a growth strategy to show as well, depending on timing of everything. I definitely want to be respectful of that. But I do have a strategy lined up for growth also that I was planning on discussing today. So before kind of transitioning over to somebody like that, what other questions come up on things like the Agility?
Let's say,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Hi, Joseph. This is Melanie Loretta.
Nice to meet you.
I have a very small annuity with Athene, but can I think it's only for 5 years. Can I, do you say it reached the maturity after 5 years? Well, anyway, my more important question is, can I roll that over? I don't know if that's the right phrase to say, or move that over to Agility7 and adding $5,000 more to make it 10,000.
So that's a good question. So that would depend a little bit on the situation. Generally speaking, that is a possibility. But you can always, if you want to, Melanie, shoot me that information via email, and I'll absolutely help put together a plan for you.
Yeah, because I wanted to stay there, and I have extra $5,000. I want to make it to look a little better and make it 10,000, and with agility. So I don't know if I can just move that over there to Agility7.
Yeah.
Right.
You and I can work on that, and I'll get you taken care of. We'll look at some options for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And if anyone else has situations like that as well, like I said, that's why I'm here. If you've got a client that has questions on a specific situation or yourself, definitely lean on me. I want to make sure that I'm helping you through the entire process.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Joseph. One more question on the, I know I saw that they have a 10% can withdraw before 7 year.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
They can use that money before that up to 10%. But how do they recalculate it on the income payout?
Good question.
So that's a great question. So what they end up doing is they take it out proportionally. So it's going to come out proportionally out of that benefit base. So if we take out, say, 10%, it's going to do 10% of the accumulated value. So they'd be able to take out, say, 25,000 in this instance. And then it's going to take out 10% of that benefit base. So it's not going to be dollar for dollar. It's going to be proportionally based off of that percentage.
That's great.
Well, so that's a great question, and it can depend a little bit on things like dollar amounts and kind of what their goals are. For somebody that's that young, we generally would lean into more of the accumulation side. So things potentially like Athene's Performance Elite or the North American Secure Horizons. And we can definitely dive into that as well, just because of the dollar amount and everything. I would have a few questions there. And then with the age, we may also have to get a little bit of approval, because with WFG, they do have an age requirement of a minimum of 30 years old, but there is sometimes the flexibility depending on the situation. So that would be something, Ben, you and I could definitely work on a little bit more in depth there, but we'd most likely lean towards something that's more accumulation based. So. Yeah, absolutely. So with this product, so this again was the Athene Agility7, and it has a minimum of $10,000 for that initial premium. Yeah, you're very welcome. Great question there. And I'll definitely send out some fact sheets and everything to Rocky and the team and make sure that we're getting that information out as well. And then if you've got questions one-off, definitely let me know. Since we're kind of diving a little bit into those questions on more of the accumulation side, I know we've got a lot of people who have made some transitions over the past years, just based off of the job market and everything going on out there. And on average, we see people change jobs once every 7 years. So there are a lot of old 401k plans floating around, especially with the younger generation right now. One of the options that I wanted to dive into was an accumulation-based option. It's through North American. So it's their Secure Horizons Fund. So this is a new fund that we're seeing, and we're seeing a lot of agents transition to when we have somebody that's young and has time on their hands, because it is a 10-year product. So it competes with like the Performance Elite 10 that we've traditionally used through Athene. But this gives the client the ability to have much higher participation rates, much like we had the question on earlier. This is going to be something where it grows these funds as aggressively as possible while still having that protection and peace of mind of the 0% floor. Now, with North American, their minimum is going to be 20%, and their minimum age is going to be 30. Or I'm sorry, not 20%, 20,000. Sorry about that, getting ahead of myself. So 20,000 is their minimum, age 30 is their minimum. And again, this is accumulation based. So this is going to be trying to grow the funds, and it does it in a very unique way. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. It does a ladder strategy. So what I've done is I ran a scenario much like Ben had asked about, where we have a younger client who's wanting to try and grow their funds. So I ran this much like as if it was myself. So a 35-year-old, $100,000, let's say in an old 401k. So looking for somebody who's younger, wants to protect their money and grow it, but have the ability to take advantage of the market and have it grow in the most efficient manner. Now, most annuities and also IULs usually have 1 and 2 year strategies to them where they credit every year or every other year. This one actually does a unique strategy where it has up to a 5-year crediting strategy. And what North American does is they break up the client's money into 5 separate buckets at 20% apiece. And then they do different pieces. So they'll do it for 1 year, they'll do a 2-year option, a 3-year, and then after that time frame is up, they put it into a 5. What they're doing though is they're making sure that this client gets credited every single year. So they're never seeing a year where they're not getting credited. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to show this chart and a little bit about how it works because it's a very unique option. And I want to make sure that we've got some clarity there. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and as the old saying goes, copy paste from a good resource. I'm going to end up using North American's presentation here. So we're just going to let this play. It's going to show us where we have that 20% broken down. It goes into a 20% into a 1-year strategy, a 2-year, a 3-year. And we can see each year that is getting credited, it's locking those rates in, those credits in for the client. And they can see up to a 400% participation rate with this product. So something that is very strong to grow their funds. And I'll play this again for us as well. But it's a very unique option that we're seeing a lot of agents use because of how much growth it can get. So let me just go ahead and play that again here. Oh, let me scroll forward. So let me just bring that back up. Always have to love the presentations when they don't go just right. So let's pull that back up here. So let's switch this around. Okay. So we can see that they break it down into 5 separate buckets at 20% apiece into strategies 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then they put it into a 5-year strategy. And then they make up the difference to make sure everything also credits in year 10.
Awesome.
So this is maximizing those participation rates for the client and getting as much growth and income as possible. So with this product, the reason I love it so much is they have the ability to grow these funds. Now, with this one, I ran this without a strategy charge, and they're still able to get up to a 350% participation rate with no charge.
Wow.
And they're on average getting 16.2% per year credited to their account through this contract.
Awesome, Joseph.
So even in the lowest markets, we're seeing a pretty impressive return.
Joseph,
Yes.
is this the income or just a regular interest?
So this is going to be an annuity that's accumulation based. So we're having this for those younger clients who have time on their hands and generally have that 10-year time frame at a minimum.
Man, awesome.
Awesome. No lifetime income. We are based on that one. But do they have a fee also, Joseph?
So it does also have the ability to have a fee. I ran that one here for us just to show those participation rates and the rates of return as well. So with this one, so with a charge, if your client wants to, they can get up to that 400% participation rate like we mentioned for just 0.95% per year. And they're able to see up to 17.5 over the most recent 10 years, 17.5% credited to their account net of charge.
Wow, that's good.
So they really have their own ability to control their destiny and still have these funds working in a very conservative way with that 0% floor, but also taking advantage of those market rebounds that we're hopefully going to start seeing here pretty quickly.
Awesome.
Lowest is 16 point something.
Oh, yes. I'll send out the product highlights. I'll make sure that we get those out there. So I'll make sure that we get those passed around the team as well.
Joseph, can you put your contact number so the team can contact if you have questions. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your share today. So amazing, great.
Yeah.
This product for 5 years, right? Right.
Correct.
10 years.
So this is a 10-year product. And one thing I'll show you just beforehand, and we'll make sure we have enough time for question and answer here, is without the charge. So with this client that I ran this for, they've still got that 0% floor, but they've taken their 100,000 and turned that into almost 450,000. So that's the last thing I wanted to show there is ultimately they're able to walk away with $450,000 without a charge at the end of this based on this illustration.
Wow, awesome.
It's the same like
So definitely a very powerful illustration that we're seeing a lot of clients go towards. If you've got any clients that you might think can fit into this strategy, let me know. Send it my way. I'm more than happy to run both strategies for you to be able to take a look at. But I definitely want to take a little bit of a step back and see what questions come to mind there. Ben, I appreciate you sharing your information. I'll make sure I email you as well. But if you've got any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Taking a little bit of a step back, kind of opening up to the questions and answers for just a few minutes here. Was there any other questions anyone had or anything else I could take a look at?
Can I have one more question? And the representation show slide today, can I go and get it from the what you call how to get that reputation slow, like get back again?
Yeah, so as far as this goes, so you're able to either run these illustrations, we can
Yes.
always run those for you. Our sales desk is more than happy to do that. And their option, we just changed our phone lines around. So they're option 3 now. So if you dial our 800-448-4510, option 3, they'll be able to help run those illustrations and also walk you through that. But if you've got like complex questions or strategies or any client that needs a little bit more of kind of an in-depth review, definitely let me know as well. And again, my contact information is in the chat there. So just feel free to let me know how I can best be supporting you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. As far as everything goes, was there anything else that was top of mind? I know we covered quite a bit today, so I appreciate it.
Awesome, Joseph. Yeah. One more question. Anybody have any question before? Yeah, Joseph.
Can I say something?
Yes. Hello.
Do you have any immediate annuity? And if you do, then which company is good?
So say that again for me.
Immediate annuity.
So